This is the Working with Warriors podcast by the team at the Regional Men's Health Initiative. G'day and a big welcome not only to our regular listeners, but any first-time listeners who've found themselves hearing us here at the Regional Men's Health Working with Warriors podcast. I need to also welcome my partner in crime for today. That's Michael Kaufman. G'day, Mike.
G'day, Glenn.
Today's topic, staying connected in challenging times, which is a pretty apt description of where we find ourselves at the moment. The things that we can't control are our biggest stresses in life, and in agriculture it's mostly weather issues, followed by all those other factors such as commodity prices, input costs, diesel, fertiliser availability, price, machinery breakdowns. The list goes on. How long's a bit of string? But recently we've definitely been hit by our fair share, be it the Gulf oil crisis adding again to fuel and fertiliser costs, those in the sheep export business dealing with its closure, those involved with the fishing industry in the southwest and Great Southern copping total closure or wholesale changes to fishing zones. So all of these guys are dealing with massive change, just to name a few.
Yeah, definitely, Grant. Agree with that. So every season has its challenges, and the effects are always felt across the whole community. Just because the farmer next door, if you guys got a fence running on your property, doesn't mean he's immune from anything, but it's important to talk about what's going on. Local ag store might attend, everybody's affected, everyone feels the pain. We can't change what happens to weather and influence the other factors outside of our control, but all we can do is manage our programs, control our business, and best we can do, importantly, look after ourselves and our mates, check in on them. Remaining connected is a way of doing this. So what does this mean, Glenn?
Well, Mike, as we know, rural communities do seem to have a sort of an innate capacity to reach out and organise and participate in loads of bottoms-up type activities, not stuff that's foisted on them from above, but stuff that they've got skin in the game for. So, and here at the Regional Men's Health Initiative, we've been attending a heap of those events, including breakfasts. We do the Crossroad breakfast. Quite often we're teeing that up with in the Shire of Merredin, and pre-harvest brekkies that we do with the Corrigan Shire. We've done sundowners. Actually, Dan was most recently in Moora for a post-seeding sundowner, and loads of other gatherings over the years which allow communities to have a bit of a conversation about where they're at individually, but not only that, but as a collective as well. So, and it comes back to, there's an interesting stat that in the late 80s there were about 12,000 broadacre farmers in WA, and that number to now has dwindled in relatively short time to about 4,000. So there's less and less of us living in regional areas. And when you add to that the sort of the nature of modern farming as well as a challenging season, the isolation becomes even more prevalent and more dangerous for us. So from the outside looking in, you can see it in the teams and get-togethers that have traditionally been the glue of regional communities. Footy teams disappearing or dropping their reserves teams or moving down to 15 or 16 aside is a early sort of canary in the coal mine sort of thing. And discussions that we've had in some regional towns can be pretty complex too. I can remember someone saying that the receival bins being opened on weekends was the death of community connection in their town, as it adversely affected their local sporting teams and pennant tennis and golf and footy and those sorts of things. And then the equally valid reply was that, well, those weekends that it was open was the reason that they had an extra week's break with their wife and kids following harvest. So it was argued equally both ways and quite convincingly both ways. So it is important that we maintain social connection, but it does take an effort. So what do you reckon are some of the ways that someone who's feeling a little socially isolated might engage with community, Mike?
Sport's the big one, and kind of most obvious one, but it's probably more so about the social connection. You know, we're at probably age and stage in our life where we're not going to get called up to play Test cricket for Australia or go and have a kick with the Eagles or Dockers.
Talk for yourself, right?
No, I'm definitely not going. But the social connection, that's the more important than your sporting ability. Just that social connection, post, pre-game, going to meetings, those type of things. And as parents, you know, for a little bit slower as well, you can still get involved in your kids' sport, coaching, umpiring, refereeing, and just supporting. Have a chat on the sidelines. Don't get fired up at the umps, please. Just have a coffee and just check in on your mates there. We know not everybody's sporty, but so it can be a little bit more challenging in regional centres. But you can get involved in local groups like Rotary, Men's Shed, Lions, photography groups, singing groups, community action groups. Or if you're really motivated, you can try and start your own group with whatever your passion and interest is. It's super important because isolation can be a real enemy of good mental well-being. It's both in the physical sense, like Glenn was saying, there's less of us, and interpersonal sense, the lack of social networks around us. And unfortunately, a few of the young folk today have lost the ability how to socially connect and talk. We're on our phones a lot, and this kind of takes away the challenges of initiating a conversation if we actually get to see somebody. So take responsibility for it. Like I said, join a group, do something about it.
Yeah, agreed, Mike. And as blokes, we've sort of got the propensity to self-medicate, or the tendency to self-medicate. And a lot of people think that that's done by sex, drugs and rock and roll. However, we know in the work that we do, it's mostly done by blokes spending more time in their cave, working harder, longer, talking less. And some ladies might find that hard to believe, but that's generally how we see blokes self-medicating. It's not the sex, drugs and rock and roll, it's the alone time and the isolation. So it's important that we continue to talk about some of the pain and distress that us as blokes tend to suffer alone. We describe our model of primary care as what we can do to look after ourselves and others. And invariably it's about connection. And some simple things we can do is we can talk to a mate and realise that we're not alone. And when we talk about mates, we're not talking about your 400 Facebook friends or your Insta followers or your Twitter or X or whatever it might be. We're talking about the 2 or 3 people that you feel like you can spill your guts to when the wheels are falling off. And those mates can come in 3 categories. It might be a peer, those people that we share a lot of life experience with, that are similar life experience, similar age. It might be our partners, those more intimate connections that give our life a bit of certainty and a bit of structure. Or it might be our mentors, those older, wiser people that we lean on for a bit of lived experience and a bit of advice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the mentors are really important. And talking to whoever needs to be informed about your situation is vital. It may seem obvious to some, but having a chat with your family, yes, you do have to talk to your wife. Finances, bankers, ag suppliers, any advisors you have, kind of who's who in your crew, just talk to these guys and let them know what's going on. Problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah, spot on, Mike. And keep an eye on others, and that's what those people can do. We quite often speak with ag reps or people that are quite often unwittingly the first person on the scene when somebody's going to spill their guts to them. So keep an eye on others. Drop into a neighbour, have a chat, have a coffee, take the time to ask someone, are you okay? Because it's so important for that person, but it's so rewarding for yourself as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. You feel pretty good after checking in on somebody. Self-care is super important, doing something you like and love. So slowing down the pace of life, maybe just having a cup of tea and watching the sun come up. Joining a group that fits in with your passion and interest, or like I mentioned before, maybe potentially starting a group, a walking group, swimming group, anything, singing, sewing, whatever.
Definitely. And those passions and interests are so important because as life goes on, the more irons that we've got in the fire, when the wheels fall off, even if there's a relationship issue or a health issue happening, if we have more of those passions and interests being explored, what it means is whilst the wheels might fall off one aspect of our life, we can still enjoy some degree of success and joy in other aspects. So those multiple irons in the fire are really important. And another really important one is to maintain our sense of humour, laugh at ourselves and laugh with others. Australians are really well known for their larrikinism and their humour. A fellow called Edward de Bono, one of the world's most foremost thinkers, he called humour a key lubricant for life and often referred to humour as social glue and the best anti-despair device that we have. And I think he's right on the money. When we lose our sense of humour, we're buggered. So, Mike, once again, I say thanks for helping me to explore this topic around staying connected. And if any of our listeners are looking for some more men's health and wellbeing info around a myriad of different topics, either in this format or others, where might they find it? And secondly, where might they find us?
Our website is probably the best port of call, regionalmenshealth.com.au. We're also on X. Working with Warriors podcast, wherever you listen to this, some really good resources on this. If you see our red Talk to a Mate utes driving around as well, give us a wave and drop in and say g'day in our office if you're in Northern area.
No worries. Good on you, Mike. Thanks.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks for listening to our Working with Warriors podcast series.